How do you do? It's time for the Rainbow Review. I'm Trevor Allen.
And I'm Ramin Hafezi.
And we're here to bring you the news from the world of the LGBTQ. Let's begin, shall we? Our first story comes from Virginia, where Danica Roem was elected to the Virginia House of Delegates, becoming the first openly transgender state legislator in American history. Her opponent is known as the most anti-LGBTQ legislator in the state and actually dubbed himself as Virginia's homophobe in chief. Marshall primarily attacked Roem for her gender identity, refusing to use her proper pronoun, as well as refusing to debate her. Marshall was also the sponsor for Virginia's bathroom bill that would have banned transgender people from using the restroom that they identified with. Brian Fisher of the American Family Association praised Marshall for standing in the way of this deviant agenda to have transgender people run for office. Roem appeared on MSNBC, where she was given the opportunity to fire back at Marshall, but instead she said the following, quote, "I have nothing but nice things to say about Bob. I would never attack one of my constituents, and Bob is now one of my constituents," unquote.
So in this week's election in Maryland, Andrea Jenkins gained a major victory and became the first openly trans woman of color to serve in the Minneapolis, Maryland's 8th Ward on the City Council. Jenkins gained a major victory this week and was a previous aide to Senior Policy Council Vice President Elizabeth Gilden. Andrea Jenkins has 25 years of public service experience under her belt in the political eye, and she stated in her victory that "My vision for Minneapolis is to bring my commitment to leadership and access and equality for all peoples." Jenkins is also a grandmother, a performer, writer, and award-winning poet. Aisha Moody Mills, the president of the Victory Fund, which is a political action committee that's determined to get more openly LGBT members of citizens in positions of the U.S. government, stated that Jenkins's victory shattered the glass ceiling tonight, and she became one of the first out trans people elected to any major city, to a city council of a major U.S. city. So congratulations to Ms. Jenkins for her victory, and this also comes on the heels of the election of Danica Roem, who was also elected as the first trans person to be elected to the Senate in Virginia. So the things are perking up all across.
Our next story is once again about Kim Davis, who is the county clerk of Kentucky, who refused to grant gay marriage license after it had been legalized. She had spent 5 days in jail before her staff granted the license without her, and she was released. She was last seen in Romania spreading her views against marriage equality. Now she is running for re-election again as county clerk in Kentucky.
In other election news, Seattle is projected to have its first openly lesbian mayor soon. So in the current running, Seattle is looking for a new mayor, and the projected contender and victor of the election is Jenny Durkin. Polls projected she's up 61% against her opponent Carrie Moon's 39%. Jenny Durkin is running as a Democrat. So, if elected, she will not only become the first openly lesbian mayor of Seattle, but also the first female mayor to be elected since 1926. Jenny is a prosecutor and has served as a U.S. attorney for the Western District of Washington from 2009 to 2014 under President Obama. And she and her partner, Donna Garvey, have 2 teenage sons together. The election is still a week away, but she is projected to win. And Jenny Durkin also received help from the Victory Foundation, which again wants to openly promote the election of LGBT Americans across the board of government. If elected, both Both women are running for the mayoral position after previous mayor Ed Murray, who was also openly gay, had to step down last year due to allegations of sexual abuse. And although the previous mayor did deny them, he felt as though they were overshadowing his political career and that it was appropriate to step down. So the election is still a week away, but Jenny is projected to win. So good luck to her.
Our next story comes from Pennsylvania, where trans woman Jules Williams is suing Allegheny County as well as several prison officials, alleging that she suffered repeated harassment and sexual assault while being housed with male inmates. The incidents occurred over a period of years from 2015 through 2016 into this year in 2017. Williams has said that she was verbally harassed as well as made to shower with male inmates and in front of male guards. She was strip searched and patted down by male guards. She claims that she was raped over 4 days despite her cries for help, as well as pressing the cell's emergency call button. Orlando Harper, who is the jail warden, said, quote, "If the individual identifies as transgender, the healthcare professionals notify leadership within 72 hours of the administration to the facility. The individual appears before a transgender committee, which makes a recommendation on housing after interviewing the individual. The recommendation on housing is made to the warden," unquote. Alec Wright, who is one of the attorneys for Williams, said that this didn't occur for his client and that she was placed with the male inmates without thinking twice.
And some not so nice news. A man in Nevada was convicted for the murder of his 14-year-old son, allegedly because he was gay. Wendell Melton, age 53, was convicted for the murder of his own son, Giovanni Melton, who was only age 14 at the time of his death. Let's see. According to police reports that Wendell filed, he and his son got into an altercation, and his son shoved him because his son was skipping school, which is something 14-year-olds do constantly. So in this case, the 14-year-old Giovanni pushed his father to the ground, where his father then stated that he got up after being pushed to the ground, took out his gun, and somehow accidentally shot his own son in the chest. Wendell Melton has a history of criminal record and a history of for domestic battery, child abuse / neglect, and was charged with murder and the possession of an illegal firearm. He was then jailed, and has a bail bond set to the price of $808,000 US. A close friend of the family, Sonia Jones, who once said that she did have to take care of young Giovanni on one account, said that in her mind she believes Wendell Melton hated the fact that his son was gay and that this crime was motivated by those reasons. She said that in his mind he would rather have a dead son than a gay son, and that Giovanni suffered many, many years of domestic, physical abuse, as well as spiritual and mental abuse at the hands of his father. So Giovanni was living alone in an apartment in the city of, in a Henderson apartment that his father rented for the 14-year-old to live alone because the environment at home had become too toxic because Giovanni didn't get along with his father's new wife. James Grant, the executive director of PFLAG National, which is a national LGBT community, family and ally organization, states that Giovanni's struggle for independence, for acceptance as a gay man, a young gay man, is a common one faced in this country all the time. To quote Grant, "We have a crisis of masculinity in this country, and it's obvious across the board from this report, and in the unrelenting reports on sexual assault and pro-gun violence. Many normative messages that men learn as they're growing up about stuffing their emotions, stuffing their feelings, policing other men's gender and sexuality, and asserting dominance from across the board, from both the bedroom to the boardroom, also show up in men as they grow up and become fathers. Currently, the police Currently, the police chief told the Huffington Post that while they are still continuing the investigation, they do not, as of yet, believe that the crime was motivated because of Giovanni's sexuality, and that they are treating that fact as a rumor. And when Sonia Jones was asked for more information, she did not come forward. Also, she alleged that young Giovanni told her once that when his father had caught him alone with his boyfriend, his father then pulled out a gun on both of them. So, our hearts go out to Giovanni and his family and friends. 14. It's quite a terrible but common occurrence these days.
A YouGov poll asked people about their various views on different types of relationships that they might have with transgender people. And here are the following results. 40% of those surveyed said that they knew a trans person. 27% said that they are not open to being friends with a trans person. 21% of Americans believe that identifying as trans is a mental illness, while 39% believe that it is a choice. Fewer people would consider dating a trans person casually or seriously. For a trans man, it is about 17%. For a trans woman, it is even less with 16%. It is higher, though, for a non-binary individual with 18%. Even less people said that they were open to the idea of having any sort of sexual encounter with a trans person. For a trans man or a non-binary person, the number is 15%. And even fewer considered being with a trans woman, with 13%. In the past 12 months, only 4% of Americans have dated a trans person. Of those saying that they would date a trans person, 18% said that they would keep it a secret. Attitudes do seem to be changing, though, when it comes to a younger generation, as 14% of millennials said that they don't feel they identify with the gender that they were assigned at birth, while those 35 to 54, it is at 7%.
In some not too dissimilar news coming out of Michigan, the police are looking for a local gang of youths who are suspected in the beating of a young gay person. So a young 17-year-old boy was beaten and stripped and abused and harassed, and it was all filmed on camera and then uploaded to Facebook. The main suspect in this case is an 18-year-old by the name of Trayvon Lee Godbolt, also known as Trayvon Lee Taylor, is the main suspect in this case and has since disappeared. And the police do want him for questioning, and a $500 reward is being offered for information on his whereabouts. He is an 18-year-old, and as I said, the victim in this case is a 17-year-old kid who was possibly lured to the area by these people to be beaten. A lot of unflattering, very anti-gay language was used shown in the video footage when he was being beaten. Muskin Heights police chief confirmed that the attack did take place on November 4th, and they are looking because of the teenager's sexual orientation. There were also 2 other men and 2 other women in the video, and they also were shouting gay obscenities. So if convicted, they could face up to 15 years in prison. Currently, the prosecutors are looking into whether or not this constitutes as a hate crime, although Michigan is one of the states where hate crimes based on sexual orientation don't apply.
The United States Department of Agriculture posted a religious advisory memo on their website. The only topics mentioned in the memo are of same-sex marriage, gender identity, and sexual morality. The memo says, quote, "Opinions about same-sex marriage, gender identity, and sexual morality are all matters of public importance. Moreover, people often have different perspectives on these topics, which are sometimes informed by their religious beliefs and feel they need to discuss them. The USDA respects the First Amendment right of USDA personnel as well as non-USDA personnel working at facilities inspected by USDA to share their varying viewpoints on these topics, whether through oral discussion, the display or distribution of literature or other means, unquote. The president and CEO of GLAAD, Sarah Kate Ellis, said the following, quote, "This new policy is a solution in search of a problem and can be used as a license to discriminate against others. From the Department of Agriculture to the Department of Justice, up to the Oval Office, President Trump and his administration are working around the clock to dismantle LGBTQ workplace protections and promote their agenda of hate."
The state of Western Australia is considering whether or not to stop religious schools from being allowed to use anti-LGBT language and discriminate against the LGBT community. The state government is seeking legal advice on this issue as Australia's mail-in ballot is taking place. The LGBT community sent a letter to Western Australia Premier Mark McGowan, urging him to take action and close what they call a gay loophole, which is used by religious schools and institutions to target LGBT students, teachers, and even parents. Quote, other mainland states exemptions for religious schools are often defined to apply only to staff members whose jobs have a specific religious purpose. That Mandrake told the Western Australia newspapers. So Western Australia's gay loophole allows for church schools to discriminate against people they find to be LGBT. And currently, the current law is written such that it's so vague and poorly written that schools can even expel students for having gay parents, such as the case in 2015 when a 7-year-old girl was removed from the Manduras Foundation Christian College because they found out that her 2 parents were gay men. The principal of the school even went on record to state that if I had known that she had 2 gay dads, I would not have admitted her to the school. This is all being stirred up because Australia is currently having a legal mail-in ballot to determine whether or not gay marriage should be legal in the country of Australia. And although there's still some time to go, and the projections are up to 60% positive on the vote, legal experts do, however, doubt that the government will actually do anything, even if the majority of Australians are shown to want gay marriage in their country, because of current divisions in the ruling Liberal Party, which has a significant conservative element. So hopefully this will be resolved very soon.
Twitter updated its search filters and clarified its rules, which led to the blocking of certain LGBTQ words, these words being gay, bisexual, lesbian, and transsexual. Any search for these words led to a no result message. Twitter has said that this was an error. Twitter published a blog post where it wanted to clarify its rules. In this post, the company wrote that it was trying to make its ban on adult content more clear, and that the LGBTQ words may have gotten caught up in this active attempt to ban adult content. At this time, searches for the word bisexual are currently working, but if you go into the tabs of photos or news, you still get the no result message. If you search under videos, you get a single result. Kate Harrod, who is a bisexual activist, said the following, quote, "Every bi activist knows the problems of trying to search for bi content on the web. Some public Wi-Fi systems block it altogether, even when it's nothing to do with sex, because bisexual is seen as a dodgy word in itself," unquote. Twitter has not said at this time when the issue will be resolved.
A Baptist church in Georgia is opening its doors to gay marriage for the first time, which is good news. The 200-year-old church was founded in 1826 and is the first Baptist Church of Christ in Markin, Georgia. See, it's opening its doors for the first time to celebrate gay marriage, and is one of 2,000 churches to leave the conservative Southern Baptist Convention, which is a let's just say it's a religious organization that doesn't have the most favorable view of gay marriage or gay people. The Southern Baptist Convention bans same-sex marriage and does not allow its members to either participate or celebrate in gay marriage. So in the First Baptist Church, Prior Scott Dixon and Church Deacon Chair Bonnie Chappell told the Post that their decision had been made after an exhausting journey, which took about 5 years and deeply divided the church's membership community. Nevertheless, despite intense debates over the years, a secret ballot did take place recently, and 230 members of the church voted to allow same-sex marriage in the church by up to 70%. And although the church has stated that the decision was very controversial and that members of the church did leave in protest, they do mourn the loss of their constituents. Ultimately, they are supporting gay marriage and people's rights to happiness in the eyes of the law and God, which is good. Good for you, Georgia.
Our next story comes from Australia, where a postal survey is being conducted about marriage equality. A vote for yes would lead to a further possible legislation being enacted to allow marriage equality. According to the Guardian Essential Report poll, 86% of those asked have voted, while 64% said that they voted in favor of marriage equality, 31% said that they voted no, and 5% preferred not to answer. The vast majority of those who vote green voted yes at 92%. Those who vote Labor, it's around 79%. A slight majority of those who vote Liberal voted yes with 54%. This does not necessarily mean, though, that gay marriage will become law, because even though Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has promised consideration of the bill to be legalized, there is a large part of the Liberal Party that is very much against this, and that is the Prime Minister's party, Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. And he has promised that they will consider the legislation if there is a majority vote yes, but it's not a guarantee. The results of this survey will be announced on November 15th.
Okay, so some openly LGBT senators are pushing through a new bill, which is going to be good news for LGBT elderly people. Let's see, the new bill is being led by Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin, and is going to be who is not only one of the first openly gay senators, but also is supported by Democrats across the board, such as Michael Bennet from Colorado, Jeff Merkins from Oregon, Edward Markey from Massachusetts, and Al Franklin from Minnesota. So this bill, this bill is going to add on to the Older Americans Act of 1965 to include LGBT seniors to the previous existing bill. So the purpose of this bill is to put LGBT seniors and have them officially defined as a vulnerable population, and which it seeks to permanently establish the National National Resource Center on LGBT aging. If this bill does pass, then the Resource Center will be the country's first and currently only organization that will be aimed at improving the lives of gay seniors in the country. Its aims are to provide services and support for LGBT seniors, and according to estimates, by 2030, the number of LGBT seniors in this country will double and be up to 30 million. When asked, the senator said that too many LGBT Americans in this country have faced a lifetime of discrimination and carry harmful physical, emotional, and mental health effects throughout their lifetimes of being discriminated. So they deserve access to health care and have very few outlets and resources available to them, even in the LGBT community. So LGBT seniors do face unique challenges and the resources to help them cope with, and so the resources needed to help them are few and far between. So let's hope this bill passes, the organization is founded, and that LGBT seniors in this country can get the care and quality that they deserve and need. The senators also went on to state that LGBT seniors helped found this community and are in need of help. So, and finally, more news coming out of Chechnya. The family of the famous singer Zelim Bakayev has filed for an investigation into their son's disappearance. The Campaign for Human Rights Watch has released a statement saying that Zelim was likely caught up in the recent gay purge in Chechnya that's been taking place. He was last seen in August in the city's capital, in the country's capital of Grozny, on August 8th, when he was attending his sister's wedding. But almost within hours of being in the city, he was arrested by the police. So his mother, Zelim's mother, has filed a report with the Chechnyan police as to the whereabouts of her son's disappearance, but the police stated that they found no grounds for opening a criminal investigation. So in Chechnya, Zelim is quite a big deal. He even has performed for the country's president, Ramazan Karameyev. Let's see, 2 videos have been uploaded to a social media account on YouTube that are allegedly of Zelim living in Germany right now. But friends and family who have seen the video doubt the legitimacy of the video, saying that it doesn't look like him, it doesn't seem like him, he was always very well kept, and this does not seem to be him. And if this actually is him and he is in Germany, then the German government should release a statement saying that he is fine and has applied for asylum in Germany. So, but in all likelihood, he was one of the many victims of Chechnya's current gay purge.
Paul Goldstein, a wildlife photographer, released photos of 2 male lions engaging in sexual intercourse at a wildlife preserve in Kenya. In response to this, Ezekiel Mutua, who is the chief executive of the Kenya Film Classification Board, said the following, quote, "These animals need counseling because probably they have been influenced by gays who have gone to the national parks and behaved badly." Continuing on to say that if it's not that, then it might just be demonic forces who have gone into these animals, saying that they have moved on not only from humans to possessing animals as well. Mutua has suggested isolating these animals from each other because sex is meant for procreation, and if these lions do not procreate, then they will become extinct. Lions are an endangered species, but the International Union for the Conservation of Nature blames habitat loss, conflicts with humans, and isolated populations, which leads to inbreeding, as these causes, not gay men cruising wildlife preserves. Part of the KFCB's job is to censor films, and earlier this week, they blocked the television show Andy Mack, which is on the Disney Channel. As we've talked about, they introduced their first gay storyline and gay character, and in this country, they have banned the show. It will not be allowed to air in Kenya. Homosexuality does remain illegal in the country at this time, carrying a prison sentence of up to 14 years. All right, that's been the news for the week. I've been Trevor Allen.
And I'm Ramin Hafezi.
Till next time, take care of yourselves.
See you next time.
Música